context was very exciting. Research heights, researchers all over the country have gathered to talk about science and how we are progressing and what kind of research we are doing. And essentially, wherever I'm going, if it's an event with the children, you talk about the space mission and try to inspire them to do things in the future. And if it is, grown population, college students or people who are working, my message is always that we should start celebrating science like we celebrate festivals. That is the change that we need. And not just in colleges and institutions, but in our own homes, in dining tables. The conversations have to change. And when we change those conversations is the time that we will see that change being reflected in society as well. All of you who are sitting here are highly accomplished, have done innumerable things in your career. I do see there are a lot of seats that are vacant. There should be a line outside these halls, when such conclaves are happening, that people are not getting admission. That is the kind of excitement we need to have whenever we are talking about science. So my journey to space was as a precursor to the mission that we are planning, human space missions, the mission Gaganyaan. And after Gaganyaan is the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, and then eventually landing on the moon by 2040 as per the new space policy that specifies 2023. And what I realized was interesting that we know a lot. There is a literature that is available. You do the survey and you read things. But when you actually start doing something, and I don't think that there is any better person like all of you are researchers, that when you actually do hands-on, you realize what are the gaps, what was missing, which you could not get to know from the textbook or the text that you were reading. And that is exactly what happened when we got to be a part of this human space mission, end to end. That is what we realized, that is what we learned. I took with me, for the first time, the Indian researchers were able to conduct science in space. And 7 different institutes all over the country. I would not have time to go into each one of them. But what I can tell you that they curated these experiments, which I carried with me and I conducted on their behalf. And it was fascinating, just, absolutely fascinating to see how everything changes. A simple experiment that you can do in lab, it becomes so complicated just because the environment has changed, just because, you're in microgravity. Everything changes. I'll highlight an example. There was an experiment on stem cell research wherein the scientists wanted to see whether we can prevent muscle atrophy by introducing certain supplements. So we took stem cells and nourished them for certain days, and thereafter we had to, introduce these supplements, and on 14th day do the microscopy and see what are the results, whether they are performing, which supplement is doing better or which is not. And so this falls under the category of hazardous experiment because of the material that is being used. So it has to be performed inside the life sciences glove box, which is, in one of the modules in the space station. So when you are in this glove box, your hands go inside and it is completely isolated from the rest of the environment so that nothing comes out, and there are fans which are running. So once your hands go inside, you are essentially trapped. You cannot move till the time you finish that experiment. And I used to be there in that position for about 4 hours at a stretch till the time that experiment finishes. Now the interesting thing is that the first day when I was doing, I inserted my hands and I was hanging. After about half an hour or 45 minutes, there was this NASA astronaut who came and she put a fan next to my head. And I said to her, no, I don't need fan. I'm quite okay. I don't feel warm. And she said, no, it is not for you to feel warm or cold. This fan is for something else. And I had read about this, but again, your mind doesn't click. So what that fan is for, it's for ventilation, because there is no natural convection in microgravity. And the space station has ventilation, but it is for a moving audience. It is not for a specific place. So if you are stationary at a particular place, what will happen that you will start breathing in oxygen and you will start breathing out carbon dioxide. And that carbon dioxide will not go anywhere because there is no convection. So it will make a cloud around your head in some time. And then you will be breathing in carbon dioxide and breathing out carbon dioxide. So it is these small things that you learn, when you actually perform these experiments which are not written anywhere, which are not or laid out anywhere. So like this, we had 7 different experiments. But the biggest learning, I would say, for us was bringing back the knowledge of how to conduct this, how to conduct science in space. Not just the data, not just the individual scientific analysis that we did, but more than that, the procedure, the process of how do you do it. Everything becomes challenging. Fluids behave differently. How do you remove air bubbles from a syringe when you are trying to sample something? So all of these become extremely challenging, and I think this learning that we have brought back, this is going to be extremely crucial for us, especially going forward when we have Bharatiya Antariksh Station with ourselves. Now, I'll pick up on something which the previous speaker was saying, and he mentioned a very interesting point in this entire list of initiatives that he was talking about. And that point was mission-based research institutes. And I think that that is really the need of the hour. We are doing research in a lot of academic institutes all over the country, but how much of that research actually realizes or lives the life to actually become a product that we need as a country in the next 20, 30 years? So that, I think, was a very, very interesting point that I witnessed in this presentation, and I would like to see that happening. The research that is focused towards a particular goal, which allows us to achieve the dreams that we have. In the space sector alone, when we talk about sending humans to space or making a space station or making them land on the moon, it is extremely complex. It is not simple to do. And we are trying to set up a framework at ISRO right now wherein the academia can be involved and made a part of this entire framework so that these problems can find a solution, and we keep moving forward at a fast pace. So that is what we are trying to do right now. So my experience, obviously, in space has been a lot of things. I have just covered about science, but I'm very, very intrigued by the concept, by the idea of what is happening here. Discussion of researchers all over the country coming here and talking about what they are doing. And while I was in orbit, I clearly felt very strongly that, even though I am the one who is getting to travel to space, but it is not my journey alone. It is the journey of 1.4 billion people who are here on Earth. I have been extremely lucky. I realize that. And so when I was speaking to the country from space as a farewell speech, I gave a message which I would like to give you as well before I finish my speech. And my message was that the sky was never the limit, not for me, not for you, and not for Bharat. Jai Hind and Jai Bharat.